First, to our top focus, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg is expected to strike a conciliatory tone during his testimony before the Congress later tonight and again tomorrow. The idea will most likely be limiting the possible regulatory fallout on his social network. Zuckerberg is expected to respond along the lines of what he has already said in his written testimony to the Congress. Zuckerberg will admit that he was too idealistic and failed to grasp how the platform could be abused and manipulated. He will be taking full responsibility for the lapses. He will also be listing out steps by Facebook to strengthen the data privacy of the platform. This will also include measures taken recently to investigate every app that gained access to large amounts of information before the company locked its platform down in 2014. Zuckerberg will definitely make mentions of how Facebook has already taken a series of proactive measures to make up for the massive lapses in protecting user data. The idea to place privacy tools in the news feed will be one of them. But how successful will his defense turn out to be will be known before long. If justice is to be served and accountability enforced, greater regulation of Facebook looks like it might be on the horizon. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent Kate Fisher, who's joining us from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Several statements that have been doing the rounds, Kate, in anticipation of what Mark Zuckerberg will actually be mentioning during that testimony. But what remains clear is he will be definitely talking about the measures that Facebook has already undertaken. But again, that might have been measures taken too little, too late.
Yeah, he's going to strike a very conciliatory tone here. I think if you look at the statement that he has released, which he'll be reading at the beginning of his appearance before senators here in Washington later on this afternoon, he's a little contrite. He's apologetic. He is acknowledging that Facebook has made mistakes, which many people were concerned he may not do. He's got something of a reputation of not really being all that apologetic and being a little bit cold, difficult to relate to. But this statement that's already been released seems to suggest that he is going to take a conciliatory tone with the senators. It's a very important day for him and for Facebook. It's the first time that he has appeared before US lawmakers. They have tried for a long time to get him to appear at Congress, and it has taken a scandal of the size of the Cambridge Analytica one to get him in front of them, and they will be not wasting a minute of those questions they have for him.
And of course, Kate, as per the statements that have been doing the rounds, Mark Zuckerberg will try and ensure that the regulatory mechanism is kept to the minimum when it comes to the action that the social networking giant might face. What do you pick up on that front?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the end of your question.
The regulatory mechanism, Kate, that has been talked about for the longest time. Facebook will try and ensure that the regulation of the platform stays to the minimum at the end of that interrogation by the US Congress.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 days of testimony that Mark Zuckerberg will give. It will be interesting to see if it results in any firm legislative changes here, any firmer regulation. Certainly, senators have been suggesting that that is what they want to see. One of them, Bill Nelson, who is the leading Democrat on the Senate Commerce Committee, who had an hour-long meeting with Zuckerberg yesterday, said that he believes that there does need to be legislation to ensure that Americans' privacy is safeguarded, and that is what he will be going for. However, these things do take a long time to happen. It could take years for new legislation to be agreed and then signed onto the statute book. And there are concerns from some analysts here that they need to get some stricter constraints in place ahead of the next elections, which will be held in November here in the US, the midterm congressional elections. There's concern already that foreign powers, particularly Russia, may once again try to use social media platforms to meddle, to interfere, to try to sway voters and disrupt the democratic process here. And there's concern that there needs to be some form of tighter regulation on these social media platforms, particularly Facebook, before those elections and that campaigning really gets into gear. And that's what many of these legislators, many of these lawmakers will be trying to pin down today. They will want to hear from Mark Zuckerberg what ideas he has and what he is going to implement, but they will also have many ideas of their own.